Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Carissa, and I just started my Master Gardener training here for my region, which is the Thompson-Shuswap region in BC, Canada. There's a lot of overlap, like I said in previous videos. Check out my intro video if you want more of what this series is. Like I said, there's overlap. We have resources from Washington and Oregon, Vancouver, which is just a few hours west of us. So I think a lot of this information applies to many people across the continent. So today's topic is soil. What is soil? Why do we need to know about it? And what's the basic knowledge around soil? This training session, I really enjoyed it. The knowledge was easier for me to absorb than the previous video I made on botany. Soil, it just seems a little bit more intuitive for me in my brain and how it works. And I really enjoyed just filling in some of the gaps about what soil is and the nutrients involved within soil. All right, so the basic. What is soil? All right, so soil composition and structure, and this really helps us to understand what soil is. So soil is a loose surface material that covers most land, and I think most of us would know that, maybe not that exact definition, but we know that it's earth, right? The top layer of earth. So the basic components of soil are minerals, organic matter, water, and air. That is what makes up soil. And if you've ever dug in your backyard with a shovel, you know that there are different layers of soil as well. So the first top layer is that organic matter, right? That is the leaves and the bark and the mulch, all that's existing on top of your soil. And then we've got a few inches of surface soil. That can vary depending on where you live. It could be an inch, it could be 5 inches. And then we've got our subsoil, and then we have parent material, and then lastly bedrock, which is not what we're growing in. Okay, so why do we care about soil? Why do we need to even know about soil? So it was very interesting. The speaker presented a lot of different reasons why soil is so important. First of all, sequestering carbon. We know that we are producing a ton of carbon and we need to get rid of it. So plants obviously help us with that carbon problem. Another thing is it provides a habitat. There are tons of microorganisms living beneath the soil, and soil is a habitat for those organisms. And then it also provides a flood regulation. Without soil, everything would just go. But soil has the ability to absorb that water. Without soil, we would have no plants, which would take away all of our food source, right? Our animals need to graze, our vegetables need to grow in it. Soil is important. And moving on to soil texture. There are different textures to be found in soil. And the 3 types of textures would be sand, silt, and clay. So sand we're very familiar with. It can be seen by our eyes. We don't need a microscope to see it. And sand would hold on to less water and nutrients because of its good drainage, right? So it's a pro and a con at the same time. It feels grainy, obviously, by texture, and it is inert, which means there is no neutral charge in sand. Silt cannot be seen by the naked eye. You need a microscope to see it. And it feels smooth when it's wet, and it feels floury when dry. And then the last one, clay, also cannot be seen by the naked eye. It is sticky when wet, and it has, interestingly, a negative charge, which means that it holds on to calcium and potassium. Super, super interesting. So if you have clay soil, just know that that's probably holding on to those minerals. It has a large surface for its volume, and it holds on to water, which makes it poor in drainage. And then we got into soil structure and what can promote a healthy soil structure. A few things were mentioned, some of them kind of controversial topics. I know tilling can just be, it can be very polarizing. So we talked about the practices involved to create a healthy soil structure. So compaction is the main concern we're thinking about when we're thinking about our soil structure. A compact soil is not beneficial for roots to be growing through. A compact soil does not make it easy for roots to grow in, so obviously we want a little bit more of a loamy texture and structure to our soil. So practices to help your soil structure would be to add organic matter. A lot of us love adding compost to our gardens and mulch, and that is a very good practice. Choosing to minimize your tilling. Like I said, this is a controversial topic. It has been seen that minimizing your tilling does have a positive effect on your soil structure. Using a cover crop, is another good practice. We never want our soil to be empty. We always want something in it, or at least covered in mulch. So cover cropping is a great idea because it not only leaves something living for your organisms beneath the soil to feast on and work, it's also aerating your soil with those roots growing in off season, and then it's providing you with a green manure come springtime. I have tried winter rye just this last fall, so I'm super excited to see what's going to come of it in the springtime. Very excited about that. And then the last one is kind of funny, burrowing fish. This is a good source of nitrogen, and I think it's a very ancient way of adding nutrients and minerals to your plants and soil. So burrowing a fish carcass, if you have one lying around, would definitely help your soil. And now soil chemistry. So this is the study of the chemical characteristic of soil and how it affects your mineral composition, your organic matter, and your environmental factors. So this is a huge topic. So you could boil this down to fertility, right? We don't really care really what's going on as long as it's a good thing that's going on. So fertility within soil chemistry is what we as gardeners are looking for. So we're looking to make sure that our soil has the ability to give our plants the nutrients they need in order to grow and thrive. So I said in my previous video, The Basics of Botany, the importance of knowing the 3 primary nutrients that we need that our plants need, which is nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Those are typically deficient in our soil, and it's also dangerous to overcorrect. So understanding your soil, maybe getting a soil test, and seeing what the makeup of your soil is a super wise idea, just to really be able to treat it and amend your soil properly without overcorrecting. So soil pH is also within soil chemistry. The pH level of your soil determines if you are alkaline, which means you are more than 7.5. Plants prefer about 6.5 to 7.5 in the pH range. So if you are high in alkaline pH, that would mean that you should be amending with sulfur. And then similarly, if you are acidic, to increase your pH, you can treat with lime. A handy way of remembering soil health, it was shared with me that there are 6 C's in your soil health. Compost being the first, cover cropping, continuous living plants, you never want empty soil. Crop diversity, a lot of us tend to rotate our crops in our vegetable gardens. Tomatoes planted in the same spot is not a good idea. Conserving your tillage, remember minimizing how much you are exposing that soil to the harsh sun. And then reduction of compacting. We are not wanting to be walking over our flower beds often. We want to make sure that it is still fluffy, lots of room to breathe for those pores. A lot of people really try to stay on their pathways and not tread on their garden beds because it is definitely important for your soil's health. And then we get into soil biology and also soil microbiology. We're talking about the organisms, all what is living beneath the ground. So it is studying those earthworms, that bacteria, that fungi that is all beneath the soil, how they function and how they affect soil properties. So the different functions, bacteria is known especially for decomposing, being a mutualist, that means that it's just neutral. Pathogens, fungi is also known to decompose, it's a mutualist and a symbiotic. Without the fungi, we would have no breakdown of our wood materials. So there would be an overabundance of wood and trees and bark lying everywhere. The fungi's job is to break down that wood. And we talked about everybody's favorite fungi, mycorrhizal, which is in a lot of soil that you can purchase. It has numerous properties that are very beneficial to your garden. Some of them are bringing in nutrition, bringing in water, communicating with your plant, helping it communicate, increasing your plant's tolerance. It can make it more drought tolerant. And increasing resistance to infection in the roots. So a fungi that you would definitely want to partner with for your soil. And of course, everybody's favorite. Before you were a gardener, you probably didn't like worms, but now as a gardener, you see them as a beneficial partner in your garden, creating aeration and providing nutrients from their casting. Definitely a very helpful creature. So that wraps up my overview of what we learned in our soil training. Again, a huge topic. I'm sure we could watch many hours of this being taught. But like I said, that this is just to give you an overview of what I have been learning and sharing it with you. If you have an interest in Master Gardener training, I encourage you to seek it out and see if your region offers a course for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you next time. I believe it's going to be on composting. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.